Hi, Laurie.
Hello.
This episode of I've Never Met a Woman Architect Before podcast is brought to you by Sierra Pacific Windows. With 125 combined years in the window and door business, Sierra Pacific Windows is the company building the most uncompromising windows and doors possible for clients with the highest expectations. In fact, we're proving one beautiful project at a time. While constantly assuring almost unlimited options regarding design style and operations, the main focus is on health and safety, with our extruded aluminum cladding being one of the thickest in the industry and glazing options available to meet California Wildlife Urban Interface Code, WUI requirements. Today, Sierra Pacific products are installed in 30 countries around the globe with a focus on residential and light commercial construction in North America. The company supports more than 600 dealers, distributors, and company stores across the country, with 3 manufacturing campuses strategically located to deliver your order when you need it. Sierra Pacific Windows and Sierra Pacific Industries. And today, my guest is Laurie Fisher of PHNX Homes. Laurie Fisher is CEO and founder, PHNX Development, a visionary and fire-resilient net zero home building. Laurie Fisher is redefining what it means to build for the future. As a California registered architect, legacy LEED accredited professional, and licensed general contractor, she brings 25 plus years of expertise in high-performance design and construction, both in the U.S. and abroad. As CEO and founder of PHNX Development, Laurie pioneered the PHNX Home, first of its kind Type 1A non-combustible net zero custom home designed to withstand fire and climate challenges.
Hello, Michelle.
Hello. Welcome, Laurie.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to finally be on your podcast. I've known you for years and been hearing about your podcast, and I'm super stoked and very honored. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. And I'm going to post some of those photos of your great, your New Year's Eve party from. Or not. It wasn't New Year's Eve. It was just
a holiday. It was the most important holiday party ever.
Yes. So right before the holidays. Yes. Yes, that's exactly.
That's literally what it was called.
Yes. Is there an acronym for that or not?
No, I didn't. No. I didn't create the acronym. And I've had such a day today that I probably can't even spell and put one together. So it's Friday.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It is Friday. Man, what a week. What a year. Anyway, yeah. So, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on is because you've developed this custom built home process and kind of construction that is, has higher fire resistance. And I'm doing a series on all of these kind of answers to the wildfires in Los Angeles. And so if you wanted to speak a little bit about your process, the construction, what exactly is PHNX Homes all about?
Sure. So back in 2018, I and other architects all over the state were called to help the folks in Santa Rosa who lost their homes after the Tubbs fire. They lost 5,000 homes in that fire. So that was my first experience working with fire survivors. And I was heartbroken by what I saw, and not just, what they had gone through, but also the whole process afterwards and how terrible that was. And so I was determined to find a better way for them. And, because I had been volunteering to help victims of violent crime, I was trained and certified in crisis intervention and trauma-informed care. So also when I was talking to these folks, I realized, oh my God, these people are traumatized. And, that designing and building a custom home is a huge deal for anybody. anybody. And it's a full-time job for them for, what I say is 3 or 4 years. You need to be focused and on and paying attention and answering questions. You need to be a good decider. And those are all the things that traumatized people are not.
Hmm.
And so it was very, very clear that they weren't tracking what I was saying. I mean, I could sit there and say like, oh, so you need your garage to be big enough for your spaceship. And they'd be like, so it was just like clear they weren't absorbing. So
Hmm.
I was determined to find a solution, not only to make the process more easy for them to navigate, more predictable, feel more safe, putting them more in control. But also, geez, when I started asking them, what would you want? And they're, well, we don't want to go through this again. So it
Hmm.
became very clear that we had to figure out a way to get these people homes faster in a predictable way that would not burn again. Um, for, a predictable budget and something affordable. And they also said it had to be, they wanted to be off the grid too. So that's a tall
Okay.
order.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah. And so that was how I started. And, I set out to make type 1A non-combustible construction feasible and affordable for single family homes.
Hmm. And I think it's a little bit easier in California though, because we already have codes that say that all new housing has to be, um, you know, zero net energy. So,
No, they really don't. Um, I mean,
yeah.
we talk about it a lot. So
Yes.
you're right on
Yes.
that. We talk
Yeah.
about it,
Yeah.
but the code, actually, there's really nothing that establishes true net zero, as a definition, as a defined, like you can't
Hmm.
get a certification for net zero.
Yeah, being totally off the grid, right? You're still supposed to have so have you done that then? I mean, are they totally off the grid? I mean, you
Well,
still have to have some hookups to the utility company, right?
yeah, you have to have a physical connection.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. I mean, it depends on the jurisdiction and how remote it is. I mean, sometimes
Hmm.
certain jurisdictions will allow you to build a home and get it permitted without a physical connection to the
Yeah. Yeah, because there just
grid.
isn't the availability. Yeah.
Yeah, but when I say grid independent, it basically means that the house is totally self-sustaining. So
Okay.
there's site generation for all the power that it uses and site
Hmm.
storage.
Yes. Yeah.
Really never drawing from the grid at all. And
Yeah.
that was their big concern because of all the power outages. So they really wanted, the next time the power goes out, we want to have our refrigerator, we want to have our internet, our computers and stuff.
Hmm.
So they didn't want to be vulnerable to that. So that's why that was a criteria.
Yeah. Yeah. Our power went out like a couple weeks ago because I think they have three Teslas and I think they were also downloading all of their stuff onto the batteries because, the rates are lower at night and they just blew out like blocks and blocks around us.
Oh, because they were
Yeah.
sucking too much current.
And then they never said that, but the thing is that in the middle of the night there were people that they up on the fixing the transformer. Like all of a sudden I saw all these lights and I'm like, who is in my side yard? And it was the workers up on the transformer in the other person's yard. So I'm like, okay, it's right by the house where all the three tests. So I'm like, I bet you they blew it out, but right. And they never came out and said that. They still always said like, oh, I don't know what it is. We're not aware of what the outage where the outage came from. I'm like, I don't know. So don't try this at home, people.
Right.
um, so what are your first recollections of experiencing architecture?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Um, so, you know, I would play Barbies, but I really wouldn't play Barbies like I didn't really play. I mean, I didn't play with dolls ever, but I mean, even with the Barbies, it's like, nah. But what I did do was build condos for them,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
that was like my, that's how I played Barbies is I'd build
Hmm.
buildings for the Barbies. And then
Hmm.
once the building was done, then I'd be like, you know. So that was that. But my other story would be my favorite toy was literally an office park. It was so cool. There was this like vinyl mat that was a parking lot,
Huh.
and the pieces were plastic like I-beams, and you would snap them together and make a frame, and then you'd slide in these Mylar curtain wall things. And so I was doing office parks when I was like in fourth grade.
So do your parents still have it? Do you have it? Do you know what brand it was? Did you ever
Oh
look it up?
God, no, I have no
You
idea.
should look it up.
No idea.
You should look it up.
Yeah, I mean,
I
well,
wonder who
it was
developed
only
that.
like 20 years ago, so it's pretty recent.
I'm telling you. Well, you know what's funny? You know what's funny? Somebody else, I was like talking to them, and they were talking about Fisher Price, and we were both laughing because the airport was probably the coolest. I mean, the house was just like a house, right? The barn was just like a barn, but the airport was pretty cool,
Yes.
and then it folded together, and that and had the little tower right there, and it
Yep, I
had a
remember
plane.
that. It was
Yeah,
very
yeah,
cool. You're
yeah. So
right.
that one I thought was like the coolest part of the whole, set. I mean, maybe like and then they had the little village and stuff. So I had all of the Fisher Price because one of the relatives like used to work at Sears, so they would have like all of these ones that were taken apart that people would bring back or whatever, and so we would get all of those. So we like had all these Fisher Price. I had like Legos, and we had my mom had those little uh those ones that they were all white blocks. They looked like little masonry units, but they were all, and then they had like red roofs or something that you would have to slat. They were kind of like Lincoln log, except they were all these little white blocks, and then they had little windows and stuff like that. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
remember that one, but Legos,
Well,
of course.
no, that was before. That was my mom was born in 1945.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, my mom has a train. We have the train, but everybody is like, "Oh, is it the girl train?" And I'm like, "No, it's not the girl train," because apparently the girl train is super valuable because there weren't that many. And I'm like, "No, it's just a regular train." Like they were not in our family. We weren't into like having, It's like my mom didn't even let me have a Barbie. She was like, I was allowed to have Malibu Skipper. Yeah, Malibu Skipper, which she was cooler anyway because she was flat, right? It's like my mom's like, and then
That's
they came up.
hilarious.
I don't know whether you read. Do you remember? I mean, I don't know how old you are, but do you remember that? Then they had the Grow Up Skipper. To talk about like why people are
Mhm.
screwed up. Do you remember Grow Up Skipper?
Yes, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And her
And
boobs
I
would
tell
pop
like
out.
younger people this, and they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." You would twist her arm, and she would grow boobs. And I mean, is that like?
It's awful. I mean, I'm pretty sure there were men behind that.
The weird thing is that I went out with a guy whose mom was like a Mattel toy executive. She actually had Antoine Predock. His parents had gone to school with like Antoine Predock in New
Wow.
Mexico, or they knew him from some way. Anyway, and it was after they met. So they have this Antoine Predock house in Manhattan Beach. And, I met him, and it was weird because I'm like, oh my God, your mother is like because she was divorced and she was like a Mattel toy. I said, she's like the most like, the great, like, she's this great feminist. And then here she is with Mattel, and you got the, it's,
Well, people are still getting used to. I mean, we're still not. We're still a long ways away from parity, and it's. I mean, there's women. Many women still don't think that way either. I mean, that's how far
yeah,
away we
yeah,
are from it.
yeah, yeah, right. Yeah. I don't know. So are there any other recollections?
Oh well, I mean, one of the most poignant for me is that it was eighth or ninth grade, my school would not let me take drafting. So I did not really discover, formally architecture until I had already gone to college in high school, people start asking you, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Said, look, all I know is I want to dress up. I want to go to meetings. I want to carry a briefcase. And then when I open the briefcase, it's full of coloring books and crayons. And I'm like, I don't know what that job is, but that's the
Uh-huh.
job that I want. And, so I went to art school and I didn't really fit in, and it just, I enjoyed it, but
Mhm.
it wasn't right. So I
Yeah.
quit. And it wasn't until I was in my early 20s that I was like, oh my God, architecture. It like just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I grew up surrounded by Frank Lloyd Wright. I grew up in Racine, Wisconsin. Both of my parents worked at the Johnson's Wax Building,
Oh
and
my
yeah,
gosh.
and I spent my childhood peering into windows of Frank's house that he designed for Herbert Fisk Johnson, SC
Uh-huh.
Johnson. Um,
Yeah.
and so I was immersed in architecture my entire life, and it just never occurred to me that I could actually be an architect. And it just like hit me like a thunderbolt. And I was really at a disadvantage. I started school and all the guys, I didn't even know what an adjustable triangle was. I had never taken any
Yeah.
drafting
Yeah. No,
in my
there are
life.
a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
There are a lot. I mean, there's some people like well, so I'm 60. I'm 60. And so, title it's Title 9, right? Is it Title 9 or Title 10? Okay, well, but whichever one it is. When they said that all of the sports could be offered to girls, all these other the certain sports, right? You weren't allowed to play together. It was separate. You were allowed, but at least you were allowed to have those team sports in girls. And then one of the things was like in seventh grade, um, we would take home ec, and then the boys would take shop. And then we would also take like a third was an art class, and then maybe it was like half the year was art, and then half the year was like home ec or shop class for boys. So what happened with me is that in seventh grade I took home ec, but then in eighth grade, even though that was 1978, so Title IX was 1975, so it still took the school 3 years to actually do that, and then we went and then we would take then we were allowed to take shop class in eighth grade. And so I did take shop class in eighth grade, and then there was also like a drafting portion that I did. And then in ninth grade I took art classes, and then in 10th grade there was a drafting class, and I did take that drafting class, but I think there were only 3 girls in that drafting class. And we had a and luckily the teacher was like really, I think it was more forward thinking. I mean, and something up where one of the guys like threw one of those bumwad things at somebody, and I don't think it was me. I'm like, I think I would have remembered if it was me, but it was definitely somebody else in the class. And then they got, they got reprimanded at least, but yeah, but they didn't get thrown out of the class. But yeah, but I mean, that was like it was my 10th grade. And then 11th and 12th grade, I went to regular high school and then went to technical school half the time. And so it kind of, it gave me a chance because I'd been drafting for a long time, so then when you get into school, you're able to convey your ideas. So of course there's still a lot of guys that never took drafting, but I think that for the most part, there are, especially um like Catholic girls schools, they never had drafting in the class. That was never part of the curriculum. So the people that I knew that had gone to girls schools, like they never had that. So yeah, so you're not like, but and then you talk to the guidance counselor, and the guidance counselors, we had a mothers in architecture thing and also an entre architect about like who has discouraged you. And there were so many guidance counselors that discouraged so many women, like 20, 30 years younger than me, still discouraged them from going into architecture. And it's crazy. I mean, it's still, and so, and then you know how it is, it's like you're in school, the younger people are like, oh, it's 50-50. I mean, it wasn't like that when I went to architecture school. There were like 10 of us in like 250 people. 250. And then, attrition, you'd get down and there would still be 10 of us. Pretty much the women like made it all the way through, and then you graduate with like 75 people in the class, like like a 5-year degree. There were 75 people, and then there were still like maybe 8 to 10 of us women that were in the thing. So, and then when we go on to have our own firms, so
Yeah, I mean, ever since I've been in practice, I've been an architect for almost 30 years, and um, I think we're still the same. It's less than 20%.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that own our own. Yeah, yeah, that are licensed or that own our own firms.
I think it's licensed.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
See, so that's like nothing. Yeah.
And,
Okay,
I'm also a contractor. So,
yes,
you know,
yes,
several years ago, I really did a deep dive trying to find the data on gender, and they don't record it. So there's absolutely zero data on gender in on the CSLB,
hmm.
and actually I mean the um, the architects board may have gender data,
So
but
if they did, they used to like not know. They used to not even know that. I think they only knew it from like the AIA or something. They didn't know from
yeah.
anything else. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just tried to get some spreadsheets from them and just go down it like and try and look at names, which was useless, and it was just way too many people. So I just gave up. But I can assume that you know that sure that there's definitely more women architects than there are women contractors,
Yeah.
but there's so few of us that I think women who are both an architect and a contractor are probably pretty rare. So, so that's one accomplishment that I was kind of proud of too. And
Yeah. You should be.
it's,
You
yeah,
should.
I mean,
You should.
I'm just fighting the good fight, and I've been doing this for so long now, and I think that I've learned a lot about working with men and the pitfalls, and I, but I've also been able, especially recently, to find more and more male allies,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's really
Yeah.
important. And
Yeah.
once you get a few of those male allies, then it kind of helps to start building your credibility with other men too. So we're still not to the point where you can just show up and have them respect you as much as they would respect a man, but it's possible. It's not
Yeah.
impossible anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, just the other day on the phone, a plan checker like said, like, why don't you ask your architect? And I said, okay, yeah, okay. My name is on the plans. My name is my firm. It's Michelle Grace Hotto Architect. I sent you an email. My signature is Michelle Grace Hotto Architect. You sent the email back to me and you said, Michelle, you you called up and you asked for me. You even used my middle name. And then now, like, you're starting to go over the stuff. And they were like, well, maybe if you talk to your architect. And I'm like, it's me.
That's so
Oh,
offensive.
well, I didn't know if you
So
were the homeowner or not. I'm like, no, I'm not the homeowner. It's like, you called up and you asked me. And this was like, so.
that's crazy.
And then another person that was in like the building department industry or whatever, that's also an architect or something, was saying that they look at everybody the same. That's like that. I'm like, oh, really? That's interesting. So it's like, even
The
though you're
same
what you,
as far
I
as
don't, same as what, right?
and if they mean like give everybody equal treatment, that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's been the same at the building when we get called up, right? It's Michael, Michael, and then I show up, it's Michelle, it's Michelle, it's Michelle. Even at an AIA event, like, I don't know, several years ago, it's like the person was from out of town. They were doing the AIA Design Awards. I was supposed to be speaking for like the ADU awards or something like that. And, they called me up on stage. I went up and he was like saying, Michael, Michael, Michael. And I just like walked. And of course, the rest of the room knew who I was. And and of course he was like super embarrassed, right? But I'm like, well, I mean, don't stop a woman coming up on the stage, right? I know what my name is. So I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry
Well,
about
I
it.
mean, I
Yeah.
could hold forth on stories all day long about,
These are
just
the ones that we can tell, Laurie, on the
well, I mean, is that what you just like me to do, is just kind of tell stories, or I mean,
Oh my gosh, I
go ahead and
know, I
fire
know.
away.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. Yeah. Or like people, I don't know, they'll say, oh, I've never been discriminated against as a woman. I'm like, really? That's interesting. I said, maybe you just don't even know. Maybe you don't know or realize that like what they're saying to you, or like,
That's possible, or
yeah.
they may just not be pushing on the right pushing in the right places. I mean, it's the way I see it is certain women may feel like they have parity because the men, it's still on men's terms.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
put
Yeah.
us in this box, and as long as we stay within the boundaries of the box, we're okay. They leave us alone, and they respect us. But as soon as you start pushing those boundaries a little bit,
Mhm.
and getting into their realm, that's when they really turn on you. And
Yeah. Yeah.
believe me, I've lived
Yeah.
it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Or you shoot back the same comments, you get a comment and you shoot it back, and it's like, I grew up with three brothers. So it's like, I'm more than happy to take
right.
Oh, so what three classic buildings do you like and why?
Oh my goodness. Um, well, let's see. Villa Savoie, I think, would be up in my favorites.
Okay.
Uh, I was simply because I was able to visit it. Um, and it was a really unique opportunity. I was there with a student. I was there on a semester,
Uh-huh.
and with the university, it was my school, University of Wisconsin Milwaukee, with our professor, and
Uh-huh.
we were in Paris for 8 weeks.
Mhm.
And so he just had connections, and it was right at the moment that it transitioned from private ownership to the patrimoine. So they basically totally emptied it out,
Mhm.
but they hadn't done anything to it yet. So it was completely as though it was just like the people who lived in it left. So it was lived in, but it was
Uh-huh.
empty.
Yeah.
So, and we got to, the 16 of us students got to spend
Mhm.
the entire day there all by ourselves. And we had free run of the place, and it
Uh-huh.
was just one of the most amazing architectural experiences of my life. And I discovered his geometry. I've always been a fan of geometry.
Mhm.
I use different geometric systems in my design, but my favorite is golden rectangle. And
Uh-huh.
so I was like just geeking out, finding golden rectangles all over
Mhm.
Cordo's Villa Savoie. I was like looking through this one, and oh my God, and then there's that one, and then there's that one. And I kept like breaking it down. And
Uh-huh.
so it was really fun. Frank, of course, I mean, he was a total asshole, but any Frank Lloyd Wright building is really special. I recently visited the Hollyhock House, and it's just, I mean, he was brilliant. There's no question. He was brilliant. He was creative. He, was able to conceptualize an entire building in his head,
Mhm.
and that's amazing. However, he never came up with even his Usonian houses, which, you know, after, on an afterthought, a couple of years into Phoenix, I was reading about Usonian houses and I was like, I'm like, we're kind of on the same page about this. And,
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways that Phoenix homes are similar to his vision for Usonian homes, but he never solved any problems. You
Mhm.
know, he was a visionary, but he was a visionary that didn't solve problems. In fact, he created problems. So, and I think that when we look at star architects and architecture with a capital A, I
Mhm.
think that's probably the thing that really kept gnawing at me throughout my entire career. Was it's like, what am I doing? I mean, I'm not I'm not doing anything. I mean, I'm designing nice buildings for nice people. That's fantastic. I'm making people happy. That's great. But am I really changing anything? Am I really helping the world to be a better place? No, not really. And
Yeah, like
so,
moving forward in the technology and the technology
yeah,
of the single
advancing
family home.
evolution,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I am a firm believer that architects are stewards of the built environment. And I think it's a damn shame when we see so many architects capitulating to developers and builders, um, and even clients sometimes, and selling out, frankly.
Hmm.
And, afraid to speak up, afraid to speak out against policies that are bad for the environment, but also bad for the built environment. It's like architects seem to want to talk all the time about the environment, climate, green, all of that stuff, but they never want to talk about just the quality of the built environment. And, like, is what we're designing any good?
Hmm.
Just, are we designing healthy communities that foster a community spirit, relationships with each other, healthy living? Is it good design? Is it what we want? And, especially these days in San Diego, I mean, I don't know how long I'm going to be here because
Hmm.
I have lost so much faith in this town as long as I've been here.
Hmm.
And I've watched as voices become silenced, and, and I don't agree. I
Hmm.
absolutely think that we have a responsibility, we have an obligation
Hmm.
to speak up and say when we see regulations that are harmful to our future, harmful to our
Hmm.
infrastructure, harmful to our built environment. And, if it's just crappy design, because guess what? We all know what it is when we see it, right? We
Yeah.
all know what
Yeah.
it is. And oftentimes we're patting each other on the back and, golf claps and, oh, it's wonderful, but then on the way home in the car, you're like, oh my God, that was a piece of shit, or, I mean, and I mean, we need to grow up and, put our big adult grown up pants on.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I cried when I was in architecture school. I'm sure you did too. I mean, if you're an architect and you've never been brought to tears because of a criticism of one of your projects, then I think you need to go back to school. Because, I mean, look at what we're doing. We are spending someone else's money to the tune of millions of dollars, and we are asking them to put that money down on something that does not exist. And the
Hmm.
only place that it exists is in your head. That's the only place it exists. And you're asking somebody to put that kind of faith in you. You know, you better be serious about what you're designing. You are altering the planet for what, you know, what if you're building a Phoenix home, it's a long time because we build forever homes, true
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's with this intention, we design, we have good design. We have award-winning designers, and we listen to each client. You know, I recently had a survivor in the Palisades who's
Mhm.
thinking about signing up with us, and
Uh-huh.
he recently interviewed with an architect who was in the news a lot after
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
And you know, he was trying to talk me into doing some free work. You know, that happens, right? Oh, well, just, you know, sketch something and let me see if, you know,
Yeah.
let me see if I like it, you know? And I,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and he said,
Yeah.
well, this other architect did. He didn't have a problem doing that. And I said, the other architect did that for you because he doesn't give a shit what you want. It doesn't matter to him. I said, I can crap out a design right now in 30 seconds. Absolutely. And it'll look great. But
Well, I
is
think
it what you want?
what
Is
I
it what
said to the
you
one
want?
with
Is
like
it
Sue is when people say like, oh, so what would you do? And I'm like, I don't know you, you know, so how am I supposed to like, I said, I'm not your Tinder architect, you know, it's like, I'm not going to like meet you and like all of a sudden I'm going to come up with something, you know, and then I'm gone. And I'm gone.
but see, historically,
It's a
that's what,
relationship. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that historically, that's, you know, the male-focused architect is typically that. I mean, my entire career, I've gotten dissatisfied clients from other architects who say, I mean, I've heard this a million times, and I know you have too. Oh, that architect, you know, he didn't listen to us at all. He, you know, we spent, you know, we gave him $80,000 and we wound up with a design we didn't even want. And we have no idea how we got there. And I mean, I have heard that complaint over and over and over again. And and that's not the way I practice. That's
Mm.
not what Phoenix is all about. You know, it's about you. It's not about me. And
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and there's that's again part of the responsibility I feel and the obligation that we have as
Yeah.
stewards of the built environment. And
I mean,
just
I
so
think
you know, I do
it's,
have to I do have to stop in about 5 or 10 minutes.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we better hurry up then. So the Hollyhock House, which my you know the kid's dad was actually a docent there, and they recreated a model of the furniture, and then that's the that's what they built. I mean, it took forever. It's taken like 35 years for them to finally build that living room furniture. But there's an article. I mean, I'll put it in this one that talks about like you know, him as a student and like some other guy that was also a docent there, them like putting together from all the things. So the Hollyhock House, and then what was the third one? Do you have a third one? You don't have, you can come back, you can come back to it. What do you like about being an architect?
Do I have to answer that?
It all depends on what day of the week.
Oh, um, you know, I
Just
would
think,
say
you know, it's
honestly,
things are just going crazy right now. Just because I mean, people are like, "Oh, well, can we get stuff done before the terror?" No, we should have started like 3 years ago. We
during
should
the
have started
last
three
supply
years
chain
ago. That
crisis, during the last supply chain crisis is when you should.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
So, what do
so,
you like about being an architect?
well, I would say it goes back to, you know, that dream when I was in high school, you know, being able to dress up, go to meetings, have that briefcase and open it up and there's coloring books and crayons.
Mhm.
Um, and, you know, yes, of course I like clothing and shoes and dressing up, but it's more about the professionalism. It's,
Yeah,
you know, it's about, for me, it architecture is just this perfect blend of science, geometry, art, and community. People interacting with people, changing lives, impacting lives. It's this blend of all of these things, and then there's that wonderful satisfaction that all of us have when we get to see our vision be realized.
Mhm.
And there's this real connection I think we all have with our projects. And it becomes, I'm not a mom, but my buildings are my babies. It's
Wow.
like there's, I can think of every single one, and the client and the process, and they all have a story, and they all have a special place in my heart, every single one. And even with Phoenix, eventually it's probably going to be tough for me to list every single project we have. It's
Mhm.
already getting to that point.
Mhm.
But I'm still going to remember the families and the survivors that we work with. And there's not one project where we haven't had at least one good cry together. you know
Mhm.
and I like probably the most moving thing that's ever happened to me in my career is it was an older couple in Santa Rosa, um, very, very dear, very, very dear. And I'm, if I don't get emotional, but it took a long time to get their rebuild done, and we became very close, and it was heartbreaking. And merely a year after the house was complete, Richard, her husband, passed away.
Mhm.
And on his deathbed, they called me, they FaceTimed me. He wanted to talk to me before
Mhm.
he died. I mean, I was one of the last people to talk to him alive.
Yeah.
And that, even now, it's just, it makes me so emotional, but it, what it does is it shows me how much this matters, and I better damn take it seriously,
Mhm.
and I do. And so, this is how I envisioned architecture for me. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Like
that's
helping
what I love about it.
helping people with, kind of emotionally moving architecture, like helping to kind of like um help them with their lives, I think, for the betterment of their lives. Yeah.
Mhm.
So what would you like to say about the future of architecture?
I think it needs a full-on update, a full-on renovation. The whole industry, design, build, manufacturers, it all needs to be rethunk. Um, I just got off of an industry call.
Uh,
We just had a feature run yesterday on ABC 30 in Fresno on
mm,
our home in Yosemite. And it's a great story. It's a great piece. Turned out great. But, she's a good reporter, and she reached out to the CBIA, the California BIA.
uh-huh.
And it was an anonymous, it was just an official statement. And they said, oh, this house costs more than, concrete and steel costs more than wood. And it's all and concrete and steel are against California climate regulations. So he's basically saying that a Phoenix home, A, costs more than traditional build, which is false.
Yeah.
And B, that we don't comply with code, that we don't comply with climate.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's impossible
I
because
mean,
you wouldn't have projects, right? It's like you wouldn't have the
well,
projects
and
wouldn't
not
be
only
built.
that, we exceed.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, we achieve easily tier 2 Cal Green. Easily.
yes,
That
yeah,
is the most stringent category, not only in the California code, but in the entire country.
yeah,
Nobody has a green code like California does. And
yes,
Phoenix Home
exactly.
achieves the
Yeah,
top tier of
yeah.
standards in that code. And we're net zero all electric. We're not
Hmm.
net zero ready. We are net
Yeah.
zero all electric. Our Title 24 report says zero for
Hmm.
the energy, the EDR. So that's really the closest thing that we have to some kind of certification, a stamp that says you're net zero. If that Title 24 report has an EDR of zero, you are net zero.
Yeah.
And I know
Yeah.
that there aren't a lot of people doing that. And so for this person with the BIA, granted, we're not a BIA member, and frankly, I was, there's a reason, and we now certainly have no intentions. But to throw a builder under the bus like that without
Yeah.
looking at even what we do and understanding and just dismissing. So this is the
And then
kind.
you've got a 4 hour, right? Don't you have a 4 hour?
Yeah, so we exceed type 1A.
Yeah.
We not only
Yeah.
meet type 1A, we exceed type 1A.
Hmm.
So, don't give me that baloney. And I mean, it's every day. It's every day I am fighting some kind of myth, some kind of pushback, from somebody at somewhere who doesn't want to let go because they
Hmm.
can't think outside of this box, right? And so
Yeah.
in
Well,
order,
I mean, I can imagine because I'm like, my projects are, with traditional construction, and I'm getting like this, like, oh, talk to your architect about it, blah, blah, blah. These existing one, it's like this whole historical thing, and which I knew what they were talking about because I've done other historical projects, but it's like I just don't, it's like, of course, like we have to know about this stuff, right? We can't get licensed without knowing this stuff, I mean, so it's like to have somebody like say, oh, why don't you talk to your architect? I'm like, what do you talk, like I'm doing a project with the La Mesa History Center right now. I said, I know what you're talking about. I'm telling you that this building that we're talking about is not what you're thinking, and the things that you're bringing up about it are not, I mean, it's not reality. I mean, it's just it's
oh
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
I get it. I mean, even with, you think, I mean, gosh, it's traditional, like what could go wrong? It's a small addition. Oh, great. Like all of this stuff. So it's like all of these other things. And of course we have to have codes. I mean, we have to have codes, but like let's just assume that if we're licensed to practice architecture, especially in the state of California, that we know those codes and we're able to design to them, if not better, you know? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just hope that, in the future, architects will grow a pair and stand up to developers and builders and politicians and start advocating for better practices. But, it's a trade-off. By
Mhm.
the same token, architects also need to get a lot better understanding construction.
Yeah. Yeah.
CAD,
No, I
CAD and
totally agree.
Revit have not helped. It's made it worse. And, so that's on the architect side. And frankly, that's part of the reason that builders, tossed us out the back door and slammed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Because
my contractor
they
that
were
builds my
sick and
stuff says
tired
I'm the
of
first
having somebody
architect. Yeah.
running.
Yeah. He says, I'm the first architect that he's ever seen that actually comes to the job side of things. I said, well, it's like, that's how you figure things out. That's how you like know. I mean, I'm not building this. I mean, I have like did some stuff on my addition, but physically, I'm just not physically strong enough to do that stuff.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like I know I appreciate it and stuff. And you have to be in the field to, to get, to like to like see how things are built in order to improve them and in order to be able to like say,
and you have to
hey,
show that you know
yeah.
what you're talking about. And then once they understand that you know what you're talking about, the dynamic shifts.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
but it's been a really long time since we've had true master builders on the scene. And I think that's what needs to happen. We need to return to the days of master builders, and it's
Mhm.
up to us to make that happen. So I do really need to go.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you to Sierra Pacific Windows. Thanks, Laurie.
Well, thank you,
Laurie,
Michelle. It was
Laurie
really fun.
Fisher,
And it was good to see you.
Phoenix Homes. Thank you.
Bye.